From soil to soul, welcome to ChezFarms, where we turn soil into food and food into legacy. Well, here we go again. You know, when you're building a home, you expect a few surprises. A delayed delivery, a change order, maybe even a mistake here and there. What I didn't expect was how many times we'd discover that everyone thought we understood each other when we really didn't. A few days ago, I was reviewing footage from one of our perimeter cameras when something caught my eye: the office door. At first glance, it looked like a normal office door, but that wasn't what we discussed. The plan was for a sliding glass door. Now, that may sound like a small detail, but there was a reason behind it. This wasn't about appearance. It was about how we wanted our family to function. One of the reasons we designed this office with so much glass was visibility. If I'm working inside the office and my daughters walk by, they can see whether Dad is busy or available. Likewise, if I walk past and see my wife teaching Thai lessons, I can make a decision not to interrupt. It's a simple thing, but simple things often shape how a family interacts every single day. The slider wasn't just a door, it was part of a bigger idea. The same thing happened with the transom windows above our sliding doors. We intentionally chose standard-sized doors and windows. We didn't want floor-to-ceiling glass everywhere. Living in Thailand, large glass surfaces can create significant heat gain, which means larger cooling costs. So we chose a more practical design. Standard windows, standard doors, and transom windows above them to bring in additional natural light. At least that was the plan. But when we arrived, the transom windows weren't there. Again, not a disaster, not the end of the world, just another example of something that was discussed but somehow never made it into reality. Then there was the kitchen. Now this one actually made me laugh. At 6'4", I walked over to the sink area and realized something. The window is positioned so that unless you're about 5'3", you're not looking outside. You're basically staring at the wall. Now I can work with the counter height. That's not a major issue. But while washing dishes, I like being able to look outside, watch the weather, see what's happening around the property, enjoy the view. Instead, I found myself looking directly into the frame of the window. And because of the concrete header above the opening, lowering the window isn't really an option. So our solution is to add another window above the header. Not ideal, but workable. And that's become a recurring theme during this project. Not ideal, but workable. Thankfully, during our visit, we were able to speak directly with the foreman, and to his credit, he was very helpful. He listened, he took notes, he walked through the issues with us, and hopefully, he'll be able to communicate those concerns back to the builder. We're also hoping these corrections won't result in additional charges, because these weren't new ideas. These were items we had already discussed in previous meetings. The goal isn't to change the design. The goal is simply to build what was originally agreed upon. As I stood there looking at these missing pieces, I found myself thinking about something much bigger than construction. When we first moved to Thailand, I assumed language would be the biggest communication challenge. But over time, I've learned something interesting. Communication problems happen even when everyone speaks the same language. The real challenge isn't language. The real challenge is assumptions. We assume people understand what we're picturing. We assume they understand why something matters. We assume a conversation equals clarity. But sometimes 6 weeks later, we discover that everyone walked away from the meeting with a completely different picture in their head. I've seen this happen in construction. I've seen it happen in parenting. I've seen it happen in leadership. And I've certainly seen it happen in my own life. The truth is, nobody is trying to build our house wrong. The builder isn't our enemy. The foreman isn't our enemy. Nobody woke up one morning and decided to ignore our plans. The reality is much simpler. Everybody thought they understood. And sometimes that's exactly where mistakes begin. One thing the foreman did tell us made me smile. He pointed to the roof and said it represents some of the latest roofing technology available. Now, whether that's exactly true or not, I do know one thing. The roof looks fantastic. And hopefully, it performs just as well when the heavy rains arrive. Because one of the things I love most about Thailand is the rain. The sound, the energy, the excitement. There's something magical about sitting inside your home while a tropical storm rolls across the jungle. Adios, amigos. Remember, every tree we plant is a step toward freedom. We'll see you in the next row.